Joined by Dr. Husam Zomlot, who's head of the Palestinian mission to the UK. So much to talk about still in relation to Israel and Gaza. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, Sheila. Good afternoon.
100 days on, essentially now, since the October the 7th attacks. Do you have any confidence that the endless talks that we've seen happening, the back and forth between Antony Blinken and others, is still able to yield that either pause or ceasefire that people are calling for?
No, and for the last few days, the Israeli media has been revealing that there has not been any contact between the U.S. president and the Israeli prime minister. Simply, Mr. Netanyahu is on a single course of maintaining the war, of spreading the war all over the region, of trying to actually drag the West into his immoral orbits of aggressions, simply for one reason. He knows very well that the moment the guns stop, all these political guns will turn to him, and he might end up in court and in prison. So we have a situation of a free fall of a government in Israel that is fanatical in every sense, very right-wing, as you all know, with a clear agenda of committing genocidal rage against our people in Gaza and in the West Bank, actually. And therefore, we need now international leadership after 100 days of carnage, of mayhem, of unprecedented human suffering, of more than 23 innocent people killed, among them 70% children and women, of utter destruction of houses. 70% of Gaza's housing stock has been completely demolished. All of Gaza's main civil infrastructure, schools, hospitals, churches, mosques, what have you, sewage plants, basic water treatment facilities. And then still the world is debating if this is a genocide or not. And still the world is even debating, some governments, if Israel has breached international law. So this is a moment of international failure, I have to say.
Alongside everything you've just said there and the things that you have witnessed and how you've assessed them, alongside that, I don't doubt Netanyahu would say this, but so would many other people. October the 7th, what happened there, the people who died there, nobody is doubting the scale of destruction in Gaza, by the way. It is visible to our eyes and we see what it's doing to human beings. But the events of October the 7th, they have placed Israelis, not all Israelis will agree with one another, but they have placed Israel in a position where I think that any country would have responded militarily to those events. Do you accept that some of the language, that the actions on that day and some of the language subsequently is as genocidal, as bound to cause problems and cause violence as some of the extremes that you rightly point to in the Israeli government?
Sheila, we have accepted international investigations. We have actually called for we the Palestinian people, we the Palestinian leadership, we the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people.
Investigation into what? Sorry.
We the state of Palestine that is recognized by the majority of the world, that has a seat in the UN. That state went to the ICC requesting international investigations 7 years ago of any crimes committed in the occupied land of the state of Palestine, in the West Bank, East Jerusalem and Gaza, by anybody. We have requested the ICJ. There has been a process in the International Court of Justice for a long time for the same thing that you're asking about. So we would welcome international investigations. You know why, Sheila? Because we do not trust Israeli narrative. The spin that comes our way, the lies that come our way, let the ICC and let the ICJ come. And guess what, Sheila? Who obstructs the ICC? Who rejects to cooperate with international investigations? It's the Israeli government. It's Netanyahu for years.
All right.
And who supports the request to block us? It's the UK and the US and the Western governments. Please.
Can I come in? I am not giving you any Israeli line when I speak to you. And I've said very clearly, you only have to have eyes in your head to see the damage, destruction and human pain that's going on in Gaza. I asked you to address directly the damage, destruction and human pain and Hamas's role in it specifically on October the 7th, since October the 7th. Do you accept that Hamas has any responsibility at all here, both for those events and for the possibility of a ceasefire, because they also are firing on Israel, and they could release the hostages. They claim they don't know if all of them are still alive. They could release the hostages tomorrow if they chose to.
You see, after 100 days of utter mayhem, like this has not happened in modern history. You're talking about 250 people killed every day, Sheila, every single day. You're talking about 2.3 million people starved. You're talking about 1.9 million displaced.
You're not answering my question.
I will answer your question.
Please
and
do.
then you want to convey to your listeners that history began on the 7th of October.
I do not.
This is the issue.
I do not.
This is the issue. The issue is the snapshot politics. The issue is the bad guy and the good guy.
That's not what I did.
The issue is the stripping of the whole issue of its context, of its historic context.
Right.
Let's discuss the day before the 7th, if you wish, Sheila. Before the 7th of October.
I'd like you to answer my question, and then we can discuss the day before the 7th.
Well, our position, you see why I don't like this question, I'll tell you why. Because we have answered it many times. Our answer is clear. We absolutely reject the targeting of civilians from all sides. Mm-hmm. Our position for 30 years have been absolutely clear, bluntly clear.
Are you calling on Hamas to free the hostages, for example?
We abide by international law and international resolutions.
Are you calling on Hamas to free the hostages?
Stop interrupting me.
No,
you asked the question. Let me answer it, Sheila. Can I answer your question?
I have been letting you, and you haven't been letting me have a conversation.
You're not letting me. You're here
really
only
not.
to take a snapshot. You're here only to focus on the 7th of October.
I am not.
No, you are.
The hostages are there now, today. And I want your position on Israel you've given me, and I want your position on Hamas.
We have 8,000 people
today.
Under the rebels, mostly children right now. We had babies in incubators dying because Israel cut off electricity. You have seen it, and you just want to bring us back to a discussion that we have had so many times, and we have made our position very clear. So instead of that, I want you to discuss the genocide case South Africa brought against Israel in the ICJ.
For 2 days I could discuss it.
Okay.
Last
so what
week
we need to do is now we need to stop Israel's genocidal rage against our people. That's what we need to discuss.
I've been asking you about how to achieve that. That's what, genuinely, I promise you I don't come here with a pro-Israeli, anti-Palestine agenda. I do not. I come here because of the humanity that is being destroyed on both sides. I promise you. And that is why.
I believe you. But there's this. We got you. You know, this moment. We got your moment. We have to keep asking you about this particular day, this particular incident, as if history began there.
No, but I'm not just asking you about that. I've asked you about whether my opening question to you was about the people of Palestine and what they are going through, and whether you have hopes for talks. I heard you, and I will continue to hear you. But I think it's really important and only right when we talk about ending this, to talk about what other people can do as well as the Israelis. I completely accept your characterization of Netanyahu's position and the Israeli government, completely accept it. And I'm asking you to tell me whether you are prepared to, as well as calling for them to change, to call on Hamas to release the hostages. And I don't know why that is I genuinely don't know why that's such a difficult question.
No, because I have said it from day one. We have said it from day one. All hostages from all sides must be released.
Are you calling on Hamas to do that?
And they must be protected, and they must never be harmed. Of course, we said that from day one.
And that's part of the solution, isn't it?
On the 101 days of the Israel genocidal rage and aggression and war against our people, the discussion should have shifted from that. We've said it. And go back to the Qatari mediation. Go back to what all the mediators have been saying. They have offered Israel many formulas for hostages exchange, prisoners exchange, and Israel has refused for the reasons we started outlining before. Netanyahu is not interested in this war ending. He's interested in his own personal
career. Hamas aren't interested in this war ending either.
I do not represent Sheila. I do not represent Hamas
but
here.
But you don't represent Israel either.
I do not represent Hamas here, nor I represent Israel. I represent my people,
Hamas
and my people have been struggling, have been in a struggle for 100 years, and the 100 years because it all started here, the Balfour Declaration, that British colonial arrogant declaration that promised our land without consulting us, and then turned us, the natives of the land that have been there for millennia, the birthplace of Jesus and Christianity, Palestine, turned us into non-Jewish minorities. And since then, our people have been in a struggle after a struggle. This is a long history. And you know
Which
what
includes
is the
the
problem?
Jews as well as the Palestinians,
what is the problem, Sheila, really? And this is from my heart to yours and to your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We always look at the consequences, at the reactions. We don't look at the real act of occupation and colonization and apartheid, the besiegement of people.
I promise
we need
you,
to talk
on this
about
program, it has been examined at great length. I promise you that. You can listen back
and you know what?
find out.
So far as we continue, and allow me here, we continue to draw this picture. There are bad guys, bad cops, and good cops.
I'm not doing that.
No, you are not doing that. But Western mainstream media has been doing that.
Well, I'm not responsible for all of them. I'm only responsible for what comes out of my mouth.
Bad guys, it all started because some group of Palestinians have done this, and then we start the conversation. And then the Israeli society is reacting. Look at the Israeli public now. They are all pro-Netanyahu. They want to kill more Palestinians, as if the Palestinian act that causes this whole thing.
All right. I don't know how you can say...
clarify.
Just let me ask you.
I need to clarify one thing.
Well, before you do, I don't know how you can say the Israeli population are all pro-Netanyahu. There were, before October the 7th, and there have been since October the 7th, massive demonstrations against him on the streets of Tel Aviv.
But still 90% of the Israeli public are still, until today, in public opinion polls, completely pro Netanyahu's actions in Gaza and all over the West Bank.
Well, I don't know that particular poll that you're alluding to, but there is visible opposition, very visible and large opposition to Netanyahu on the streets of Israel, on some of the streets of Israel. Can I ask you, while we still have time for this conversation, can I ask you about protests that you have seen here in the UK? First things, you must get a great deal of I suppose, reassurance that there are so many people prepared to come out onto the streets to support the people of Palestine. Do you have any concerns? I mean, I read today that the Home Secretary is considering prescribing as a terrorist organisation Hizb ut-Tahrir. They have been a small presence, but a presence at every one of these rallies. Do you welcome that move? Do you accept that move by the British government?
No, I welcome the move by the British people. I welcome the hundreds of thousands that we saw just this weekend in the streets of London, and I was there. It's a scene of empowerment, of inspiration, and actually it's very strategic, because if you go back to all previous cases of nations and peoples who were seeking justice and liberation, including South Africa, you will find out that it was the power of the people that brought down the oppression.
They are very striking protests, but amongst them there are anti-Semitic. There are anti-Semitic elements, aren't there? And there are.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. I have seen love. I have seen love. I have seen all backgrounds, all religions, including the Jewish people, our brothers and sisters, and not only for the last 3 months, for the last 75 years. I've seen Christians. I've seen all colors. I've seen unity.
But you're not concerned about the Islamist groups on the fringes.
There are one or two. You see, this is the media again.
No, it's not. I have said.
Look at the headlines.
Well, maybe talk about
six people were arrested.
Other ones
Six
that have
people
left
were.
you
Look at the headline. Look at the headline in mainstream newspaper in Britain yesterday. 6 people arrested at that demonstration, and then they tell you there were 500,000. I mean, the 500,000 is the story. The million is the story. Those
Which
people
has been
are people
told
of
on
goodwill. They represent the best of
Britain.
They represent the best of Britain, of your country, and your country has a long history of siding with justice.
And they're not being ignored.
And siding with fairness.
Daily.
Your people stood with Nelson Mandela. Your people, the anti-apartheid movement emanated from London. That's why I take so much empowerment from what is happening in the UK now. I take so much empowerment from the British people. And believe you me, we bank on the people, not the governments. And we believe the people will in the end change government's position. And we are empowered by a new generation of Britons, a new generation of world activists, by the social media. No longer news and information is being blocked by the few. People know the reality. That's why you have this outpouring of passion and emotions and a will to change things. And people know much better because...
all of which has been reported on mainstream media as well, and social media is not without its problems of truth-telling either. But I will leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Husam Zomlot, Head of Palestinian Mission, the Palestinian Mission to the UK.